Thereupon that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings, and who fought on thousands of battlefields, and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else, and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, who stood before him, four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. Purport. In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhishmadev set the glorious example concerning the importance of the human form of life, concerning the important function of the human form of life. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. Therefore, if one is absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he's sure to go back to Godhead without any doubt. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 8:5-15. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Arjuna, O Partha, Arjuna, is sure to reach me. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows, and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order of life, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. The yogic situation is to have detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses, fixing the mind on the heart, and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, who will certainly reach the spiritual planets. One who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Partha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Sri Bhishmadev attained the perfection of quitting his body at will, and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He wanted to see Sri Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. Simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhishmadev was to see the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object, and by the grace of the Lord, Sri Bhishmadev had the opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. Sri Bhishmadev had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. Thereupon that man who spoke in different subjects, thereupon that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings, and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking and being completely free from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else, and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. If we believe the Bhagavad Gita, or Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane, Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadhyade Siddharne. If we accept Bhagavad Gita as it is, that three things. One is that we're eternal. Now, if we doubt that we're eternal, the Bhagavad Gita is not going to have very much meaning for us. Some meaning. At least we can learn how to live in the mode of goodness and get the best opportunity for material existence. And then we can take our next birth somewhere else and have another opportunity for material existence. But one actually believes that the goal of life is to go back to the spiritual world, if one believes in a spiritual world. Then Bhagavad Gita has some value. First of all, to understand that we're eternal. And then, if we want to realize our eternality, we have a friend and guide within our heart known as Paramatma, who would like to give us intelligence that he speaks without personally to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and then through his representatives who repeat the same message according to their understanding as an instrument for Krishna. In other words, anyone who's repeating the message of Bhagavad Gita, the only way they can do it is as an instrument, because it's Krishna who has to supply the remembrance, knowledge, and the forgetfulness. Remembrance of what the philosophy is, knowledge of what the philosophy is, realization, and forgetfulness of the things that are contradictory, seemingly contradictory to actual knowledge. Then, if we accept the goal of life, that Paramatma is meant to help us come back to the spiritual world in our relation with Krishna, then we can study Bhagavad Gita, which says that we've gotten this body because of what we've done in our past lives, and specifically what we were thinking of at the time of leaving our previous body, and we'll get our next body accordingly to what we do in this lifetime, which will result in what we're thinking of at the time of leaving the body. Therefore, one should practice remembrance of Krishna. And to do that, as mentioned in the last verse, that first of all we have to make the arrangements that are suitable for remembering. Not only the external arrangements, which is important, and external arrangements come about as the result of what our mind and intelligence are thinking. As Prabhupada writes at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, the introduction, we were actually not working with our body, physical body. We first work with our mind and intelligence. And if our mind and intelligence are working to become Krishna conscious, then naturally we'll make the arrangements that we have the best situation to become Krishna conscious as possible. Then, or as it says in the next instruction, that, or as Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, one should arrange one's life in such a way that one cannot help but think of Krishna 24 hours a day. And the Lord's promise is that one who does that, he'll go back to the spiritual world. Now, our main problem is that we're not that interested in going back to the spiritual world. We have too many other interests. We don't mind if somehow or another at the time of leaving our body, some spiritual airplane arrives, we might decide to get on it. Just like that story of Tukaram, which we know, how his wife was doing the household work, and Tukaram came running in that the Vaikuntha airplane is coming to take us back to Vaikuntha. And his wife said, well, I haven't finished my cleaning the house yet. You go back to Vaikuntha, it's all right, no worries. So then in the movie, at least, we see Tukaram boarding the Vaikuntha airplane, and it's taking him back to the spiritual world, and his wife thinks, well, wait a second. Maybe I should go back to the spiritual world too. So then she comes running out, wait, and then Tukaram's waving her goodbye. as the airplane goes back to the spiritual world. So what's the difficulty? The difficulty is we don't have enough taste, enough desire, because we desire things that give us happiness, that give us pleasure. And if we don't experience pleasure in our normal devotional sadhana, then why would we be interested in going back to a place where we just have the same experiences here? Therefore, we have to become experienced in Krishna consciousness to want to go back to the spiritual world. And that doesn't happen all of a sudden. But the first thing, as Prabhupada writes, is that I think we should arrange things in such a way as, this is actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's purport. From the Nectar of Instruction, which is actually coming from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Nectar of Instruction, text number 7, 8. In the neophyte stage, and what does neophyte stage mean? Neophyte stage is a long stage. People get tired, you know. It's like you say, excuse me, Bhakta so-and-so, Bhaktim so, oh my God, he's insulting me again, calling me a Bhakta, as if I have any devotion. I've surpassed devotion. Now I'm a Prabhu. Before I was just a lowly Bhakta with devotion. Now I'm the master. I've transcended being a Bhakta or a Bhaktim. Similarly, when we call it, you're a neophyte, Prabhu, and we do, oh, how insulting. You're putting me in the same category as the 4 Kumaras. How dare you put me on that category? 4 Kumaras, I'm way beyond them. They're just kids compared to me. So neophyte is a long stretch, because as long as we're interested we're worried about what the future is, as long as we try to speculate what am I doing here, what should I do, what should I do, shouldn't do, what will make me feel good, what will make me feel bad, as long as we're speculating all the time, she loves me not, that's the big speculation. As long as we're speculating like that, then the result is that we can't fix our mind upon Krishna. Of course, we're normally not fixing our mind upon Krishna, so it doesn't bother us, because when you're normally in Maya, Maya seems completely safe and sound. It's like the bird in the cage. He's in the cage, and then the master, he opens up the cage, and the bird walks out, and he gets afraid. My God, I'm free. What am I going to do out here? He said, now the cage isn't protecting me. And he runs back into the cage, and then the master closes the cage again. I'm safe. So we feel comfortable in our material condition because we're used to it for a long, long time. And when freedom is offered to us, we become a little skeptical. What am I going to do when I'm free? Will there still be a feast? Will my bed still be soft? Will everything be all right? Do we still have a chance to find romance and happiness in this world if I'm liberated? Or as one priest was praying, my dear Lord, please give me celibacy. And then he said, but not quite yet. Maybe in the future. So Prabhupada writes, in the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. So that's what we're trying to do. Hear Krishna Katha. Sadatam Kirtiyantomo. we may not have a taste for it now, and therefore we have some regulation for it. 16 rounds, coming to class, worshiping the deities. It's called sadhana bhakti. Because we don't have a taste, we're not spontaneously attracted. When we hear the conch shell go off, then we spontaneously get up and run to see the deities. And great desire to see their lotus faces and participate in the kirtan. No, we have to have regulation. The mind says, relax, don't be in so much anxiety. And then the intelligence says, at least go there. At least chant, at least hear, try to hear. The mind says, oh, come on, relax. It's a slow process. You got until the end of Kali Yuga. At least you got 10,000 years to chant the holy name. So one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. And if we don't hear it externally, we should be hearing it internally. So that's what we're practicing. We can't become liberated from the material concept of life until we actually are constantly taking direction from Krishna through his representatives such as Srila Prabhupada. And therefore always seeing things in relation to Krishna, according to the scriptures that we have. And it's not that there's an artificial imposition on the mind. Our intelligence is not trying to artificially impose something upon our mind. It's trying to clarify things so that we see things as they actually are, rather than how we're imagining things to be. This is called Shravana Dasa, the stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, one can attain the state of his acceptance called Varna Dasa. In other words, when we actually accept what we're hearing, then we come to the platform of Varna Dasa. It becomes experienced, becomes realized to one degree or another. If we make progress, that what we're hearing theoretically becomes realized practically. That's why we accept it. Not blindly, but we accept it because we experience it, we see it, we feel it. It becomes our normal consciousness. And then, when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. So, only when this becomes realized, we can actually, when we chant Hare Krishna, we can experience some happiness by just associating with Krishna. Then one doesn't have, that's called acceptance. We hear, by hearing about Krishna, it's very blissful, and we chant Hare Krishna, and our minds are full of anxiety. What is this about? I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm hearing, I'm actually making an endeavor to hear it, and just some sound vibration, to me, it's a sound vibration. What is this thing about bliss? But when we learn how to chant better, with more feeling, and Krishna reciprocates by actually appearing within our consciousness, within our mind, and we can actually feel his presence, then we accept, yes, it's a fact. Actually, the holy name is actually blissful. Can cause me bliss, not always, but if I follow the right path and I practice in the right way, then sometimes I'll feel some happiness by doing so. And that's called the beginning of acceptance. And then we become attracted to hearing Krishna Katha. It's not just like I made the promise and I'll fulfill it, I'll come to class, I'll chant my 16 rounds, just get them over with. Somehow or another, then I don't feel so guilty. So that's happiness, by not feeling guilty. I completed my rounds. Or as Krishna Prabhupada once said, as you know, he was chanting his rounds and they pulled down the final counter bead. Then he threw his beads on the table and said, now I've chanted my 16 rounds and I can do any damn thing I want. So that's not exactly, that's good, chanting the rounds, but we have to understand there's something higher than that. To actually become attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha, we should strive for that. But we have to learn the process of actually taking advantage so that the holy name we can actually experience it to the highest level possible for us at this particular stage. By chanting in a nice place, try to remember some of the instructions, chanting in an attentive way, try to chant with as if we're chanting to Srimati Radharani and Krishna, not that we're just chanting to some impersonal sound vibration, that Radha and Krishna are there, and they'll reciprocate with us if we actually try to be blissful and happy by chanting. Because they live in the platform of bliss. They live in the platform of consciousness. And unless we're conscious, unless we're trying to be happily chanting, then how can they allow us to enter it? Because they're existing in a different platform than the material platform. Therefore it says, by chanting offensively, what we're doing is we're cultivating the weeds rather than the holy name. Not that we should stop chanting, but we should chant properly. At least better than we were presently. Try to make an effort to chant better than we are. And Maya's not going to encourage us. Maya doesn't say, my dear soul, actually what Maya will say is, why are you wasting your time to this chanting? You're not getting anything out of it. Why don't you just relax? Think about something more pleasant than with this holy name. And if we're receptive to Maya, we'll think, you have a lot of sense. You're always giving me good advice, Maya. You're my best friend. All these other people are always telling me, criticizing me, telling me I'm not perfect, I'm not powerful, I'm not happy. What kind of instructions is this? They don't know my inner feelings. How I'm the Supreme Lord of all that be. At least whatever I own, I'm the Lord of these things. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smarna Vasta, the stage of remembering. So it's not that we chant in ecstasy. We chant in such a way as that Krishna agrees, he becomes pleased to appear within our consciousness along with his name, form, quality, and pastimes, and then we become ecstatic because Krishna's name, his form, his quality, his associates, his activities, they're all the nature of bliss and love. And that's our nature too. So we just become dovetailed and we enter into the realm of transcendence, which is blissful, full of love and pleasure and happiness eternally. And then the beginning, as it says, he attains the stage of remembering. And then it has different stages: recollection, absorption, meditation, conscious remembrance, and trance. So in the beginning we remember Krishna sometimes. And that remembrance is actually what we call remembrance. We're actually feeling Krishna's presence, we're actually feeling his associates, their exchanges, and we become blissful and we realize this chanting is actually quite sweet and nice. But then we forget. But practice, in other words, not that I become ecstatic and I'm blissful and then my mission is done and now I can go back to material existence. No, we can understand this is some special favor, some mercy obtained by service to Guru and Krishna, by service to the Vaishnavas, etc. So now I'm remembering Krishna sometimes and I'm feeling some transcendental pleasure. Now I should try to perform my sadhana even nicer, so that it becomes more often I feel this transcendental happiness. And that's called, in the Sanskrit, it's smarna, and then we have dhyana. Dharana is the one. Dhyana. What's the Sanskrit? Dhyayato. Dhyana and dharana. Yeah, dhyana. That's right, dhyana. The stage where we start remembering Krishna more often. It becomes desirable. When we forget Krishna, we don't feel so good. It's like if you fast every day of the week, you won't feel so good. You become attracted to eating. So when we become attracted, when we feel there's something wrong when I'm not remembering Krishna, or there's something right when I am, that's the stage of dharana, dhyana. How do you spell D-A-N? No, it's dhyana and then dharana. Dhyana and then dharana. Dharana means that we start concentrating. That in that remembrance, we can actually focus in on more of the details. We can see, one of my favorite pictures, Krishna running to Mother Jasoda, his hands are like this. Mother Jasoda has her hands like that too. I don't know how they're going to catch each other's hands like that. I'll have to turn it over at the last minute. Anyhow, they're both running to each other. Krishna's running with a little calf by his side. And Krishna he's the one who's effulgent. He has effulgence there. And there's 3 cowherd boys in the background. And one cowherd boy is looking at him. Another one is on the top of the other cowherd boy with a flag. And the other cowherd boy is looking at him. I wonder why he's not looking at Krishna. Anyhow, he's distracted for a moment. And Mother Jasoda has her hands out. She has this multicolored sari on. She has top, which is yellow and is floating. And Nanda Maharaj is standing there with a smile and a mustache. He's holding on his waist, and he has some blue garments on. He's with a sash. And then Srimati Radharani and Visakha, I guess, and Lalita are standing on the marble stairs, and they're all looking, and there's a little bird who's flying in the top, and there's a peacock in the background. So then we start remembering some of the details, what color flowers with Srimati Radharani. She has some yellow flowers in a plate, and Vishaka, she's holding it like this, and Vishaka and Lalita have the offerings on the other side. And what color Krishna has? Of course, a yellow dhoti, but he has a sash around him, which is purple. And so then you start remembering that you can see you're there, the details are there. It's not just like some vague picture, it becomes a real picture. And they become 3-dimensional. And it's like a movie, you're watching a movie, a transcendental movie. And then when it becomes more intense, then it's alive, they're alive, they're moving. And with that kind of experience, and you're experiencing their love and their happiness, and you don't want to forget it, so then it becomes more constant. It's called anusmriti. Shravana, anusmriti. Anu means continuously. So meditation, absorption, constant remembrance, and then, or remembrance, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance, recollection, meditation, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance. Then one doesn't want to forget at all. First is this remembrance sometimes, then absorption, then meditation. Then one can hold the remembrance and see the details, and it starts becoming alive. Then constant remembrance. One cannot, that's at the stage of a sakti. One doesn't want to forget about it. One can't forget about it. Even the mind withdraws from the remembrance. It's like a fish out of water, immediately comes back to remembering again. Then one is almost on the stage of perfection, which is trance, which is the stage of bhava. One is living in the spiritual consciousness. Externally and internally, Krishna is everywhere, all the time. Externally, one sees Bhagavad Gita everywhere, what Krishna says about, and internally, one remembers either Krishna's pastimes on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or he remembers Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, or his Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's then the actual perfection of one comes to the platform of Swarup Siddhi. One realizes one's spiritual identity of bhava, and as that becomes concentrated, then one comes to the platform of perfection, which is, he realizes eternal relation with Krishna. Sampati dasa. One actually enters into the spiritual platform of existence. So that's what we're supposed to, we have to start somewhere. It's not that this is too far advanced, it's too theoretical. No, we have to try to come gradually to the proper proper platform. And that's why we have sadhana bhakti. It's a gift to us by our acharyas, by Srila Rupa Goswami, and given to us by Srila Prabhupada for our benefit. It's not meant for our displeasure or something that we should think is imposed upon us. It's our lifeline back to the spiritual world. And as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that which in the beginning may be bitter like poison, but at the end is like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. So we can't expect to have a happy existence all the time. It doesn't matter we're in Krishna consciousness, we're doing sadhana bhakti, or we're out playing, watching the movies somewhere. We're not going to be happy either way, necessarily. But there's hope in the process of Krishna consciousness that we can make some progress and become free from distress gradually. The things that are causing us distress, like watching movies. Always have the same motif, this punak punas charvita charvananam. We're always, at the end, I can't imagine how someone could not be disappointed by watching the modern movies. Previously, they used to have some spiritual theme to them, but now they're just violence, just the mode of ignorance. Unrestricted animalistic sense gratification with unrestricted violence, simply meant to bring one to the lowest platform of existence. And that's what people call happiness, which, as Krishna says that in the beginning, was like poison, at the end like poison. Said to be one of contact with the senses, well, that's passion. That which in the beginning is bitter like poison, and at the end is like poison. That's called happiness in the mode of ignorance. It starts out bad and it gets worse. So, with our intelligence, because Bhakti Yoga is called Buddha Yoga or intelligence, we have to use our intelligence and think about what is my actual goal of life, how can I achieve it, what will be my real benefit, and then try to work according to that. And if we're not successful all at once, then still, probably gives the example, if someone is learning how to dance, he may fall down sometimes. Like a little child who's trying to dance. The parents don't come up to him and say, you rascal, this is the third time you fell down. When I was learning to dance, it only took me twice. To walk, I should say. To walk. You're an insult to the family. Get out, kid. No. The parents are very happy to see the attempt at walking. And even if there's a little progress, they become very ecstatic. They become very encouraging to the child. And when he finally can stand up, then they put it all over Facebook. They call up their relatives. He stood up. Now, if you're 50 years old and you're still trying to figure out how to stand up, your parents may become a little discouraged. It won't make the headlines. But for the little child who's learning, it's appreciated. And finally, when they can stand, everyone becomes ecstatic. And one day he'll dance in ecstasy. So we have to try the best we can, not think ourselves so advanced that we're beyond improvement. That's a very restraining or restricting. If we think ourselves to be so advanced compared to everyone else, we're always comparing ourselves to everyone else. I'm in the program looking around, why is that rascal not here? I'm here, why are they not here? Rather than appreciate whoever is there, the great opportunity that they're inspired me to come there. What a great opportunity, even though I'm a rascal, somehow or another I'm here. So we should try to encourage others, encourage ourselves, and not be disappointed if someone doesn't come. There may be different reasons why. And try to practice sadhana bhakti to the best of our ability so that we can become inspired, and just by our inspiration, we can inspire others too. Because if we find happiness in Krishna consciousness, then others will understand that they can also find happiness in Krishna consciousness. Even a little bit of happiness is worth a whole lot. If the material world were only getting a drop of pleasure in a desert, like yesterday I was trying to pour out some some last drops of coconut juice from a bottle. And I was seeing one drop. I was realizing a drop is so insignificant. A drop of water in the desert is so insignificant. So the little happiness we get in material existence is really so insignificant. And if we can get a whole half a glass of happiness, or even a quarter of a glass of happiness, compared to the drop, it's such a wonderful experience. So we should strive for a little bit more than a drop. And this happiness in Krishna consciousness is much more than a drop. It's real happiness. And many drops of happiness, all at once. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes. As a Boy Scouts, when I was a Boy Scout, I was a Cub Scout actually, I never joined the Boy Scouts. But one of our mottos was, be prepared. Okay.
Maharaj, I really appreciate such classes which helps us to understand how far we are from the goal and how to reach the goal. Because when you hear such classes, you understand that whatever you have actually managed to understand and maybe have in practice, it's still enough. You have to try more. You have to do more. And so thank you very much. Each of these classes is like, oh my God, okay, let's go, mind, come on, there's the goal, catch it. And I was really struck by the point you said, the first stage of remembering sometimes. And it actually sounds like a really high level. Sometimes remembering and having a taste for it. Sometimes. I mean, I don't know, it already sounds like at least for, as you said, a long-lived neophyte, that sounds like a high level. I mean, I don't think it's such often I see in devotees enjoying remembering Krishna. I mean, is it so rare, or I'm just?
I don't know. Sometimes we make it show externally, which is all right too. Because Prabhupada said, if you don't feel like dancing, you'll dance, and you'll feel like dancing. So that's nice. But as far as what one is actually experiencing, but that's why Prabhupada's dancing was raising the arms up, and put the Swami step. Because if we want to dance in such a way, we want to do it, everything in such a way as we can most easily remember Krishna. If we get too distracted by our bodily activities, then it's very hard to actually concentrate with our mind, because we're too much absorbed concentrating on our bodily activities. But when we dance elegantly, as if we're in the mode of, transcendental, in the mode of goodness, whatever is elegantly, like Prabhupada danced very, very elegantly, then the result is we can concentrate on the holy name. And then it's up to Krishna. In other words, if we actually sincerely chant, even once, there's any sincerity, which takes a lot of experience and intelligence too, but just sincerely ask Radha Krishna to engage us in the loving service as a servant to Prabhupada, not just, take me as your loving servant. We have to go there as a servant of Krishna's servants, otherwise he'll never take us. So we follow Prabhupada's instructions, his representative's instructions. We chant Hare Krishna, and we sincerely ask, as a servant of Prabhupada, as a servant of his representatives, please engage me in your loving service. And they'll be very happy to do that. Then we'll actually experience what loving service means, what love means, what service means.
Thank you very much, because this aspect of engagement in the service as a servant of Prabhupada, I was not doing that, and that's wow. I was keeping that one, and I see that it's not good. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, Krishna says, one who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee. The one who claims to be the devotee, my devotee, is actually my devotee. We can't go back to the spiritual world as some independent agent. We have to go back as a servant to Krishna's servants. Anything else? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.